Can Bitcoin reach $38,000 over the next few weeks, or is this relief rally almost over? Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Justin here with Crypto Academy, and in today's video, I'm going to make the case for $38,000 Bitcoin. We'll look at some factors that support that thesis, and I'll also explain some factors that are going to play against it. We'll also take a look at the crypto cycles overall, and I'll share my thoughts on where I think we are right now in the current crypto cycle. And lastly, I'm going to share my thoughts on where Bitcoin is right now, where I think it's going to go over the next few weeks, and also whether or not $38,000 Bitcoin is likely. All right, so first things first, when we talk about Bitcoin going to any level right now, given what we've seen over the past few months, I think it's important to take a step back and look at the overall cycle and just look at where crypto is and try to gain some insight into where crypto might be going. Now, obviously, looking at previous cycles does not predict where this market is going to go. It's not going to guarantee that Bitcoin is going to hit a certain level, but it can give us some insights into what is likely. So with that said, let's go and take a look at the Bitcoin chart here. And what I want to do is take a look at the last 6 or 7 years, the last couple of full cycles for Bitcoin, and see what we can gain from the data. Now, the very first thing I want to look at is the previous cycle, where if you'll notice when Bitcoin topped out at the end of 2017, to that very first cycle low, okay, about a year later, that was approximately 52 weeks. So it was exactly 1 year from top to bottom. Now, once Bitcoin reached that low, it then went sideways for quite a long time. In fact, it didn't come out of this trough for about 100 weeks. So it was approximately 1 year to the bottom, and then approximately 2 years before Bitcoin even broke the previous cycle peak. So that's really important to understand here, because I think a lot of people get caught up in, are we in a bull market? Are we in a bear market? As if it's just a sudden snap where things change. And the crypto market can take a very long time to transition. Look no further than the last couple of years. So if we look at Bitcoin over the past 14 or 15 months, we can see that we got a peak in April of last year. Now, Bitcoin then went on to make a little bit of a higher high in November of last year. So to me, that was more of a double top. It was the market coming back to retest that previous high that it made in April. But the point here is that Bitcoin didn't just start to sell off immediately and go right into a bear market. The same thing when you're coming out of a bear market and going into a bull market, these transitions can take months and even years. So with all of this in mind, what we can say is that Bitcoin tends to spend about a year going from the cycle peak to the cycle low, and then approximately 1 to 2 years basically going sideways. And so I think this is important to understand, because a lot of people think that we are just going to go straight back into a bull market. And if we look at previous cycles, what Bitcoin shows us is that the market does take about a year to 2 years to go sideways, and then finally it breaks out of that trough and we enter a new bull market. So if I had to take a guess on where Bitcoin is right now, I would say that we are in that first trough within a bear market. So has Bitcoin put in a macro bottom? I think it's really difficult to say right now with all the headwinds going against us, but I do think that there is a strong case to be made for the fact that Bitcoin has put in a very strong local bottom. And what I mean by that is a bottom that could last for weeks or even months. Next, I'll show you a key level that could trigger a move toward $38,000 Bitcoin, and the market is breaking this level today. I'll also share my thoughts on where I think Bitcoin is going over the coming weeks. But before I do, be sure to smash that subscribe button and also click the bell icon to get notifications if you want to learn how to make more money as a crypto trader and investor. So now let's go ahead and take a look at that level that Bitcoin is actually breaking above today that could trigger that move significantly higher, potentially up toward $38,000 over the coming weeks. So here we're looking at the Bitcoin daily chart, and you can see that we have this descending channel that goes all the way back to early 2021. Now, obviously the market has broken below this and also above it over the past year and a half. However, what's significant here is what Bitcoin has done when it's broken below it and above it. In other words, when we got that break last summer, okay, and the market broke down, it spent quite a while going sideways, consolidating. That ended up being an accumulation period for Bitcoin. And then we got the move higher. So we got the close back above this channel and then a retest of that level as new support. Now, what followed was a very aggressive rally from Bitcoin all the way up to the top of that channel, where we got a break above that. And that ended up being the cycle peak. So we got this blow off top from Bitcoin above this channel, and notice what happened a few weeks later when we got the close back below. So Bitcoin closed back within this channel. We got the retest as new resistance, and then a very aggressive sell off right down toward the bottom of this channel, and Bitcoin bounced right from that support level. Now, what's really interesting here is that Bitcoin spent approximately 50 to 80 days trading below this channel and also above it. All right, now if we look at the current period for Bitcoin, it has spent 57 days below it. And as you can see, today is starting to break within that channel again. So it's starting to break back above that previous support level. So this brings me to this notion that we could be about to see Bitcoin go on a very aggressive rally if the market does what it did previously. Now, of course, there are factors playing against that scenario, one of which being the global recession. That's obviously a major headwind for markets right now, and this is something that Bitcoin did not have previously. Even in these two scenarios we just looked at, the crypto market was not facing the headwinds that it is right now. And we can say the same thing about previous cycles too. Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market has never dealt with a global recession before. So there are a lot of headwinds here. This is not a video to say that Bitcoin is about to play out exactly the same as it did before. We don't know that. But if we just look at the chart here, I think that the similarities are striking in the sense that we have to at least entertain the possibility that the crypto market could be about to go on a very aggressive relief rally. Because make no mistake too, bear market rallies can be very aggressive and last a lot longer than most people think. Even during the last relief rally that we saw in early 19, Bitcoin went on a 340% rally over nearly 200 days. So we have to understand that these bear market rallies can last a lot longer and travel a lot higher than most people think. Now, one thing I do want to point out about this channel that we're looking at here for Bitcoin over the last 14 or 15 months is that the last two times Bitcoin did this, where it broke below the channel and closed back inside, and then also broke above it and closed back below, is that we can see the market did retest this level as new support or new resistance respectively. So what I mean by that is when we look at this chart back in late 2021, when Bitcoin broke back inside of it, after that long period of consolidation last summer, the market did retest this level. So we got a very big rounded retest of this level as new support right before that very aggressive rally. And we saw something very similar last December when Bitcoin broke back below this channel, okay, the top of this channel, and we then got a rounded retest as new resistance. So this is really important to keep in mind because it doesn't mean that Bitcoin is just going to take off and rally 50% or more over the next week or two, because there's a very good chance that we get another retest just like we had 2 times in the past. So if I move in here on the Bitcoin chart and we take a look at the last few months, what I mean by that is that there's a good chance we could see Bitcoin rally over the next couple of weeks, then consolidate and maybe pull back to this level to retest it as new support. Because once again, that's what we've seen Bitcoin do the 2 other times. So one other thing I do want to point out here is where the visible range for Bitcoin comes into play when we look at the period of price action since the last bull market. So this entire time since the last bull market, when Bitcoin broke above $20,000 and consolidated essentially below $70,000, the point of control for the visible range, which is the highest point of volume during this period, comes in right at $38,000. So that's why today's video is titled the way it is. And look, VPVR being at a certain level, the point of control, does not indicate that the market will move to that level. I want to make that very clear. However, I do think it's interesting that the point of control here, the highest point of volume for visible range, comes in right at the top of this channel toward the end of September. So if we were to see Bitcoin go on an aggressive rally like it has done before, potentially after a rounded retest, then we could be looking at Bitcoin heading up toward $38,000. Now, of course, that's probably best case scenario. I don't think we're entering a new bull market anytime soon just because of all the headwinds out there. And no, I don't think that the market is going to put in a new all-time high anytime soon. In fact, I would say the earliest for a new all-time high is sometime in 2024, maybe even 2025. So if anything, we are looking at a potential bear market rally that could take the market quite a bit higher than most expect. But as I said, there are a lot of headwinds here. We've got the global recession, we have inflation, which by the way, we have CPI and PPI this week on Wednesday and Thursday. So keep an eye on those events, a lot of volatility around those events. We've got everything from that to the war to, you name it. We have a lot of headwinds right now against the crypto market. So this is by no means saying that Bitcoin is going to go to $38,000. This is not a perma bull argument. This is me saying that if we look at the last 14 or 15 months from Bitcoin and what it's done around this channel and what it's doing today by breaking back inside of that channel, that there is a decent chance we see a more aggressive rally from the crypto market. Now, what Bitcoin is going to have to do over the coming weeks to sustain that rally and potentially move up toward the high $30,000 area is, first of all, it's going to have to reclaim this channel, which it has not done yet because it is going to take a daily close above this in order to confirm that reclaim. And remember, the daily close is at 8 p.m. Eastern. Right now, it's right around noon Eastern. So we still have 8 hours left in today's session. A lot can happen. So Bitcoin has to reclaim this level, hold above it as new support, and then we need to see that rally potentially up toward about $25,000 to $28,000, at which time we probably get some type of a pullback into this area as new support. Now, before I get to some Bitcoin levels to keep an eye on, especially this week with inflation data coming up, do me a favor and smash that like button if you're finding this video helpful, and also let me know in the comments section what you think. Do you think Bitcoin can hit $38,000, or do you think this relief rally is almost over? Let me know in the comments section. All right, so now let's get into some key levels to keep an eye on this week as we move into that inflation data. So as you can see today, Bitcoin is breaking above 23,450. That's a level I talked about last week. We did get that close back above 23,000 over the weekend, that reclaim, which I mentioned. And so that level flipped back to support, and we're seeing some nice follow through today. Now, keep in mind that Bitcoin has to close today above 23,450 at 8 p.m. Eastern. So there is still about over 7 hours left in today's session. So a daily close above this area around 23,450 is going to be key to flip that to support. Now, 24,200 is going to be resistance. You can see where Bitcoin is having some trouble there today. So this week's inflation data is going to be absolutely critical for where the crypto market goes here over the coming days and weeks. If Bitcoin can get above 24,200, hold that as new support, then the mid 25 area, 25,400 or so, is going to be the next resistance level, followed by about 26,500. Now, what I think could play out here, if we see Bitcoin do something similar to what it's done the two other previous times that we talked about earlier in the video, is that we get a continued relief rally up toward maybe mid 25s, maybe up toward about $28,000 before we see some consolidation and maybe a pullback and a retest of this area right around 22 or 23,000 as new support, followed by a potential more aggressive relief rally from Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market. Now, that's only if we see something more favorable from inflation, or if we see the Fed and other central banks start to pivot. If that happens, then I do think we could be looking at a more significant relief rally from the crypto market. Okay, but for today, it's going to take a daily close above 23,450 to flip that to new support. And then we have 24,200 as resistance, which flip that, we're looking at least about mid 25s, I think. So do I think that Bitcoin can hit $38,000 over the coming weeks? To be honest with you, when I look at the charts that we just looked at, I think that there is a pretty strong possibility, or at least a stronger possibility than many are giving it credit for. However, when I look at the macro factors and more of the fundamental view, there are just a lot of headwinds right now. But with that said, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, bear market rallies like this can tend to last a lot longer than most expect, and they can also move a lot higher. Because again, right now, a lot of people are thinking that this rally fails any day now. And I think that's a dangerous stance to take, especially when you see Bitcoin breaking back above this level that we talked about today. So whether or not Bitcoin can hit $38,000 over the coming months really depends on the inflation data we see come out. If it does start to trend lower, or if it's higher and we see a pivot from the Fed and other central banks, then yes, I do think $38,000 could be in the cards. Now, when you're speaking just technicals, 23,450 is absolutely critical right now. If we see a close above and a close back below, then I think that scenario is off the table. But if we see Bitcoin hold this level and the inflation data comes out equal to or less than forecast and a favorable reaction from the markets, then I think you really have to consider that we are going to see a continuation of this relief rally from Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market. All right, so that's it for today's video. And if you enjoyed this video, you're gonna love the one I made on Friday, talking about the VIX, the volatility index, and how it's sitting at a 9-month level, which could have huge implications for the crypto market. And you can check that video out right here. And if you wanna learn how to make more money as a crypto trader or investor, be sure to subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon. All right, be safe out there. I will talk to you all again tomorrow.